Hello everybody, how you doing? Welcome to science class number 2. Today is the January 19th, and I have my guest here. What's your name?
My name's Tish.
How you doing today, Tish?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Andy.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always nice to have friends over. Do you have a dip in right now?
I sure do. I got one in the pocket.
Can I have it?
No.
Why not?
It ain't enough for you.
So you recently ordered a mushroom book. Where'd you get it from? Amazon or?
No, I got it from Kohl's.
You got it from Kohl's.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
I got it from Kohl's, Andy.
How much was that? Like, what are all the contents in the book? Like, I know it's about like edible mushrooms. Anything about psychedelics in there?
Yeah, there is actually. There's quite a bit of information about the psychedelics, but I really haven't got to that yet, Andy. I've been too busy looking at the morels and the springtime mushrooms. Ready to make my venture out into forage the hills of Michigan and Pennsylvania.
You need to go to Centralia when you go to Pennsylvania.
Why?
You ever seen the movie Silent Hill?
No.
That's the movie. I'll show you a trailer after the podcast, but that's where that film was based on, was that location.
I'll try to go there. Are there mushrooms there?
There's not even people there no more.
The dead?
See, what the story with Centralia is, coal mine fire started back in the 60s. And it caused, that was a coal mine city. So everybody got their money. Everybody got broke as shit and they had to move out. And it's been abandoned, and that coal fire has been burning underground for 200 years.
Oh my God.
You go there to this day, there's a highway. It's all cracked up, and you can see the smoke just coming out of the cracks.
That's pretty neat. I think I've heard a little bit about it. And I think you were probably the one that told me about it. But that's hot. That's hot.
Literally, that's hot.
What have you been doing tonight, Andy?
I woke up about 5. I played some CSGO, Counter-Strike. I'll show you what that looks like after this podcast we got going on. What have you been doing today?
Wow, I watched 3 movies. I drank Diet Pepsi and let the dogs out 4 times. Sounds like an exciting day, don't it? I watched the video on mushrooms.
What kind of video did you watch?
The Michigan parks, where to go, and trying to make my plans for the spring. So what we're going to do is go to Pennsylvania first, and then to Michigan. Probably spend more time in Michigan. But I have a nephew, Billy. Shout out to Billy. He's in Pittsburgh, and we're going to go and see him, and he's going to go hike and maybe camp and all that good stuff. Have a lot of fun. We're going to try out some car camping. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Andy. You just drive your car and sleep in a hammock.
No, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, you just take a hammock and a bug tent and a cooler and whatever you can fit in your car and just sleep in nature.
Jack Daniels, a prostitute, and a big bag of weed. Would that fit in there just fine?
One of the 3 won't be bad.
Yeah.
The bag of weed. Shout out to Mom and Dad. Love you. So, yeah. Pretty excited about that. I literally sleep, drink, and definitely eat mushrooms lately. And I do a lot of dreaming about them, so that's what. And that, and shoot a lot of dip.
So, what was your experience like when we went to Rentschler Park? What did you think of that? Was that a pretty fun day, or?
I love Rentschler Park. I can't wait to go and get some springtime mushrooms there because it was a very good climate for it, and also there's great views there for any kind of hiking, and it was pretty amazing, a place like that in the middle of it's amazing that it's there. It's beautiful. I've been here for probably 6 years and never got to see it until Andy showed it to me. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, tell them about the acorn incident.
You got hit in the head with an acorn?
We were walking on this bridge. We were looking for not psychoactive mushrooms, but edible ones, and we were walking on this bridge. It was in the middle of fall, and they just started falling from the trees, and we were just running through the woods dodging acorns. It was crazy.
The nuts were falling. We were joined that day by Taylor, our buddy. Shout out to Taylor. Hope you're doing good in Cincy, buddy.
We need to get him on the podcast with us. We need to do a 3-person podcast with him. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah. But we didn't get hit in the head with any acorns, really, but there were walnuts as well, I believe. And it was a very active area where we were standing, put it that way, with the waterfall and the nut fall. It was a lot of fun, though, listening to Taylor talk and then watching him run across that bridge. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I want to bring up another memory that we have. Our work actually hosted let me open this beer real quick.
All right.
If you remember back to the Dayton Dragons game that night.
Yeah.
I think it was me, you, and Jackie.
Yeah.
Well, in case you guys didn't know, our work gave us tickets to a Dayton Dragons game. So instead of going to the game, what we decided to do was, this was in Dayton, Ohio, and there was a parking lot like right across the street from the arena. So we went there. There was some sketchy fat dude with his shirt off laying in the lawn chair. We pulled up, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my lot. You can park here. You can smoke dope. You can drink. You can fuck. I don't care. Just give me the money." So we gave him like, how much was it? How much?
I think it was $6.
Yeah, we gave him like $6, and there we are. We're sitting out there
drinking and smoking, and Jackie's peeing.
Yeah, we're sitting there, and we got the Tish's truck out there, and she got the cornhole boards out, and we're sitting there tossing cornhole in the parking lot, smoking weed and stuff, and we're like, must have been like probably like 10 or 12 cops drive by.
Yeah.
And we're just out there just not giving a fuck, just having a good time, playing cornhole.
We didn't see the game either.
But the guy said it was private property because it was his parking lot. So we were drinking, and the cops for some reason didn't give a fuck about it. Like,
no.
They probably got people, passing out on heroin or something down the street in McDonald's. That's another story. I went to McDonald's there, and I walked in. I haven't been to a one-person restroom in a while, at least at a McDonald's. So I walked in, and there's this dude just fucking taking his shit, like, on the phone, just yelling at some bitch. I'm like, what the fuck did I just walk in on? And then he's like, oh, and I was like, oh, shit. I fucking walked back out. He was talking to this bitch that was sitting outside in McDonald's, like, she was sitting down, and next thing you know, I walk out to go outside to wait, and she walks in the bathroom with him while he's in there. And then I wait for him kind of to leave. I see him leave to the McDonald's. And I go back inside, and it smells like just straight up ass. I guess it's from when he's taking a shit. but it smelled like fire too. Like it smelled like shit and fire at the same time. Like I don't know what the fuck was going on, but that was some crazy shit.
What about a girl that walks in after a dude just takes a dump right in a little one person stall? That's crazy.
Yeah, earlier I was in here playing Counter-Strike and I seen a car pull up and I thought it was you. I fucking let this nasty ass fart off. And then I was like, oh shit, perfect time, and she just got here. She's gonna fucking come upstairs and smell straight shit. And then I planned on it, like if you did that, if you said something like, what's that smell? I'd be like, oh, it's just the air freshener I got going on.
I did notice, but you know, I probably farted on the way up too, so whatever. That's why I like hanging out with you, Andy, because we can talk about farts or whatever. Like, we don't care.
Yeah, back to Rentschler. That was actually a pretty fun experience. Just see, that's what I hate about winter. You're mostly inside and secluded. You can't really go outside much and explore much or anything. Which I like video games a lot. You probably don't. You probably play them on your phone and stuff. But usually how my years go is during the summer, I'm always outside every day. It doesn't matter if I'm just outside walking or if I'm outside just, frisbee golf or something like that. I always find something to do every day. But in the wintertime, I don't really try to do that. My plan for the wintertime is to just sit in front of a desk and play Xbox. That's literally my winter.
Buddy, you're pretty set for right now, too. You got everything to do in that one controller right there. And I love being in your studio / apartment.
Game set up, yeah.
I love being in your science lab, buddy, in your science class.
That's what this is. Have you ever thought about getting into gaming at all? Or are you pretty much not wanting to do that, really?
Man, I got mixed ideas on it. I've had fun playing the games, but also try to find other things to educate myself, and that's just the way that I enjoy that time. Like other people have different things, and I could pick up a guitar, but sometimes I don't do that. I just mostly stay warm, try to watch TV or some on YouTube right now, or in some way educate myself and learn something.
Yeah, I was actually talking about this in the podcast that I did by myself, my first one.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how video games, because it's a generation, like they got the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3 and all that. And they got the Xbox 360. There's just generations. But each generation's had over 1,000 games on each one.
Yep.
So if you've been playing games your whole life, you can kind of think of a video game when somebody brings it up. Like, hey, you remember playing, Spyro on PlayStation 1. And then you think back and you look at that video game, but you also think back and you look at where you was in life when you were playing that game. And I think the same thing kind of relates to music.
Yeah.
When you hear a song, you think about what you were doing at the time when you first heard that song, or when you were listening to that song a lot.
Or at a time when something special happened and you heard that song either with a group or with another person. Or, I do have an experience that I had with a song that it's the one that says, I just died in your arms tonight. Must have been something you said. I had a wreck. And I rolled my car and it rolled 3 times and it ended up in a ditch. But my radio was still blaring that song. So it's been a kind of a freaky thing for me, this whole experience since then. So not only that, but I knew at a younger age that songs take me back where my dad put the I don't know, Billy Joel, Elton John, the newer, earlier versions of different tracks, and we'd be out boating. So when I hear those songs now, that's what I think about. So those are great memories, you know. That's what music does. And then you just enlightened me on something as far as what video games are to you, because that's a whole different life. And you're talking about generations. Well, you know, you're not that much different in age than my son, which is pretty cool because my son and I relate, because I'll watch him play video games. And sometimes, you know, I have enough of it, but he has a place to play too. So that's kind of my thing with the video games, is the times that I've watched him maybe play. I have great memories of that.
You can also relate it with like movies, because I'm a big Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
And as you know, the Star Wars is kind of out of whack. They recorded the other episodes, and they recorded episode 1 and episode 2 back in the early 2000s, but the other ones were recorded in what, like the 90s or the 80s? You remember that?
Yeah. Big generation gap.
And they, you know why they did it that way, right?
Yeah.
Because they had the plot set out from episode 1 until Disney bought Star Wars, and that's when they added their own plot to the last 2. But they had a plot picked out from episode 1 to episode 6. And the reason why episode 1 and episode 2, when they were making the movies, they realized they didn't have the technology to show the plot on screen. So what they did, they realized the other episodes weren't really that, the way the plot sounded and stuff, it really wasn't that high tech.
Yeah.
So what they did is they came back in like 2000, 2001, and they realized the technology would probably be a little bit better. So they recorded episode 1 and episode 2 then. That's why they did that.
Wow.
Have you seen all the Star Wars movies?
No.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. My friend Nathan, actually, he's probably going to be listening to this podcast, but you know Nathan from work.
Yeah.
He was telling me about, he lived in Westchester.
Yeah.
And he used to have like kind of like mini parties and stuff. He was telling me about a drinking game they used to play. They would go through all the Star Wars movies, and every time somebody pulled out a lightsaber, you had to take a drink. And they said they would make it to like the end of episode 1, and everybody would be blackout drunk.
I bet. There's a lot of lightsaber. I see you have one in here, don't you?
It's actually my son's. I got it for him for Christmas.
Yeah.
But when he's not here, I use it as a decoration for the room.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about your son, Andy.
What is it?
Tell us about your son. You have some high marks on him already.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Didn't he do some scores on the gaming himself?
Yeah, you guys probably seen my video up on YouTube that I posted. It's called 2-Year-Old Gets Kill on Call of Duty, I think it was. But the story about that is I was sitting here, I was playing Call of Duty, and my son kept asking for the controller. So I gave him the controller, and when I did that, he always presses like random buttons and stuff. He doesn't really know what he's doing yet. He's only 2. But he hit a bunch of buttons, and he hit them in such a perfect combination to where he threw a grenade. And when he threw that grenade, he got a double kill. He killed 2 people on the enemy team with that grenade. And those are other online players. And could you imagine if, well, I didn't tell him, but could you imagine if they knew about that? Like if I messaged them, or if I like some way recorded it, like him doing it.
Great. Get that recorded.
If I would have recorded my son doing that and recorded the screen at the same time, and I sent them that, they would probably never pick up a controller ever again. Like my son, 2-year-old son, threw a grenade and got a double kill on Call of Duty. And I recorded it.
He's been watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing is, when he was well, the last job I worked at, I forget who told me this, but they say when the baby's about to be born, they can hear a lot that comes out of the stomach. Like they can hear a lot that's outside the wound.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard anything about that?
Because the water's not there.
Like babies can actually hear what's going on outside of the stomach.
I would imagine, yeah.
And she told me about that, and I said, well, I've been playing a lot of zombie video games here lately, and that's probably not a good thing. Because literally, like, when he was in the wound, like, all he would hear would be me.
Zombies.
He would hear, he would hear zombies, like, screaming and, like, running, and you would hear me going, fuck this game. This game's stupid. I fucking hate zombies. And it would have just been all bad. Like, I don't know. That's something that people need to watch out for, to, like, watch what they say and stuff when they're having a baby, but I just thought that was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I think they pick up on that a little bit later, too. Definitely. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Another thing is well, now what happens, because I cuss a lot when I play video games, especially Call of Duty. Like, I probably say fuck at least 1,000,000 times a day. Especially if I'm playing Call of Duty. That's not an exaggeration. Literally, probably 1,000,000 times a day, I say fuck. And I've tried to stop it, and it's like a drug addiction. You just can't. It takes practice to literally stop cursing.
You ever try to hang out with, I don't know, maybe like at our work, they're kind of lenient. I'd say a little bit lenient as far as languages, as long as you don't go way over the top. But you kind of got to watch yourself a little bit. But, you know, I've had a couple experiences, you know, even with my wife's Mamaw. And shout out to Mamaw, God bless her little heart. It's hard to be around her and not come out with a cuss word every once in a while. And sometimes, you know, it gets past her because she wasn't maybe paying attention. But you have to be really careful, you know, around certain people. That's difficult when you're used to just letting it go. Drop the F-bomb all day long. I mean, 1,000,000 times is a lot, Andy.
Yeah, what my son does whenever I do cuss at the video game, he doesn't repeat it. What he does is he literally picks up my hand and slaps it and says, "Don't say that bad word."
Yeah.
Like, he's never repeated a cuss word. I mean, I guess that's pretty good. I never heard him say a cuss word, and he's 2, so.
Yeah. Well, kids do. Kids do. And,
another thing I heard about when they're, like, really young is skin-to-skin contact. Is that a true statement, you think?
What do you mean?
Like, when they're, like, a newborn, you're supposed to... Both parents are supposed to sleep with them one night at least, or kind of practice it to where they sleep with the baby, where the baby has a diaper on and that's it, and then you sleep with your shirt off and you're supposed to hold him against your skin and lay him to sleep. And that builds like a different type of bonding moment, I guess, is the way it's described. You ever heard of that?
Well, I mean, that makes sense. That does make sense. It's a good thing to have that extra bonding.
Well, apparently it does something. It's like a communication thing, like when their body's sleeping and they're skin to skin with somebody. At that age, the brain develops to kind of be attached to that person. That's how it works out. Because if you do practice that on a daily basis while they're that old, like it's like plugging something into an outlet. Like you got that connection every night, and then eventually they get used to each other. You get what I'm saying?
Interesting, Andy. I saw a program on the Bohemians, and when their children are, well, when their babies are born, they never put them down. They carry them all the time. They even put them, like if they're doing something with their hands, they'll throw them around their back and the kid just holds on, the baby, but they never put them down. And of course they had their titties out too, and just feed them whatever, but they never put them down at all. And that's their way of life. All the women that had babies were walking around with these babies, not putting them down. And, you know, I did have to carry Logan a lot, and it made my arms pretty strong.
Breastfeeding's a hard thing to do, ain't it?
No, I didn't do that.
Yeah. My son was breastfed until he was about, say, probably about 7 months, which really, that probably helped a little bit. But I can just remember that it's a lot harder than what people say it is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you got the bottle, it's easy, it's convenient.
How'd it feel, Andy?
But the breastfeeding, the way it was, is like, you had to go through the hassle of getting them the latch on, and
Yeah.
he would bite,
Yeah.
and he would cry and fuss, and like a bottle, you could feed him, he'd be down for a nap in probably about 10 minutes. Breastfeeding, it'd take from an hour to 2 hours to complete the whole process.
Yeah.
Each time.
That's the bonding thing that a mother has. And one of the things that they suggest as far as another bonding thing is to have that if it works. But sometimes it just don't work. And I never tried with my son, so I never, knew if it would work or not with me. But apparently it didn't, because I couldn't even try it.
Yeah, what I was worried about with my son, the only thing I was really worried about was the pacifier thing.
Yeah.
Because I heard so many horror stories, like, it's kind of like sleeping in bed with mom and dad.
Yeah.
Once it's like a drug, actually. Like, once they get that,
Like a blankie.
it's kind of like dipping if you think about it. Like take away the nicotine aspect, but once they get, it's like an oral, like, sensation that they get from that pacifier, and they kind of have like withdrawals from that. I think you would.
Yeah.
They kind of get like withdrawals from it, and that's why it takes them so long to get off of it. And like sleeping with mom and dad in the bed, in my opinion, I think it's the best to start out young, put them in a crib. Because like right now, my son is fine. He'll go and he'll lay anywhere and take a nap.
Yeah.
And they'll go to sleep, take a nap. But when they're young like that, I mean, everybody might not be that lucky. Because some people, their kid stays with mom and dad until they're like, probably like 8 or something maybe. But what you could do is you lay them in their crib and you realize that they're crying. But you got to think for a second. If they're crying and you pick them up and you bring them to the bed and you lay them down,
You're reinforcing.
they'll get used to that.
Yeah.
And then they'll use that for other things, like 14 years later, because that's where it all starts at, is where they cry and they get what they want.
Yeah.
And then eventually they're going to be like, hey, I want the new iPhone. In their head, they're going to think, oh, if I cry, I'm going to get what I want, kind of thing. I mean, they're not thinking back like, yeah, I remember I was a kid or a baby and I was getting picked up. They're just going to have that in their head, and they're not going to know where it came from because they're not going to remember it, but it's still going to be in their head that they're going to cry and they're going to get what they want.
Do you think that's a certain part of our generation difference? Do you think that...
I think it's a lot to do with parenting. I mean, my dad, I was raised by my grandfather, but he was pretty strict because he was raised differently. And his main thing was just to discipline and make sure you were disciplined correctly. Like, if I got an F on my report card or something, each grade that was under a C, that was a month my Xbox was locked up behind doors behind a deadbolt.
Oh, shit.
And that worked.
Yeah.
That worked a lot.
Yeah.
And one day, I woke up late, and I walked in my dad's room, and I said, Dad, can you take me to school? I missed the bus. And he said, no, son, you got 2 feet. You can walk to school. And I lived on the east side of Hamilton, so I had to walk to the west side of Hamilton. And it was kind of cold outside.
Oh, crap.
And my dad didn't realize that. And I didn't realize that either because I didn't check the weather or nothing. I got outside, I was like, oh, shit.
Did you wear shorts?
Yeah, I was wearing shorts.
You always wear shorts now.
Yeah.
That's probably why.
And then I walked to school, and then from that day on, my alarm clock was set for 4.
You never missed it again, did you?
I never missed a day of school again.
See, that's good. That's good parent. You're right about that. It's all about parenting, and that's where we have a difference in my generation and your generation. But
Yeah, I think it's kind of a good thing that I was raised by my grandfather, because I feel like their generation has a lot better techniques than this generation does. Like, it just seems like it's so much more straightforward, and it worked better than it does now. Like, now parents are just like, yeah, fuck it. That's basically what their thing is, just fuck it. Because you don't really know what they're doing. Because, like, say, my generation, we're raised by a generation, probably 2 generations under my grandpa's generation.
Yeah.
So they're going to pick up on those traits from them, and they probably said fuck it too. So now they're going to say fuck it back, and it's just going to continue, and everybody's just going to be like, fuck it.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be, is just fuck it.
Oh, it's getting there. But I had, I'll tell you one story. My father had spanked me one time ever in my life. One little smack, and it broke my heart. And he never had to spank me again. But my mom, she had to give us hell. And I respect her. I'm talking about my mom that raised me, my mom Judy. I don't even want to call her my stepmom because she's been my mom, always. But she was very overwhelmed a lot, but she did great with 5 kids, and only one was her own that she, delivered. So she took us on as a group plan and did pretty good with it. But my dad he worked hard, and so we had, in our generation, we had our grandparents as well, who my parents would lean on if they needed anything or help or whatever. So when my generation came along, we learned that we could lean on our parents a little bit more. So yeah, we probably said fuck it, because my son, he is in that next generation, and I can say video games has a lot to do with it, as far as the I want to say attention, and how could you not like the animations and the graphics and all that of the video games, and kind of being in a reality world, and you become so good at it, and you compete with other people at it, and you enjoy it, and it's something we don't understand so much, and because we didn't have it. When our first video games were the little joystick Atari, and we played squash, I think. This little thing that went ding 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 ding. God, what was it even called? It was before Asteroids and Pac-Man and all that stuff. This little ping pong thing, and so we didn't get that kind of upbringing. So I don't even understand a lot of computer talk, and the way you guys get around on the computer, it's amazing. So I think that's an advantage as well.
See, I think that also, I just fucking slobbered, but I think that all has to do with like the generation we were raised, like that's a benefit of the generation we were raised up in, because you guys probably had computers, but they weren't like as good as they are now, I guess you would say. Because I feel a little bit old saying this, but I remember being in computer lab in like first grade, and we had those box computers.
Yeah.
You get to remember, and we had
Apple
big keyboards. I think they were, I don't really know what they were, but, and then 2 years later, they got these new computers. I think I was in 3rd grade, and they got these new computers in. And then 6th grade, they got new computers in. So just in that time frame, technology has advanced 3 times throughout my elementary school.
And how many times since then? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and even from middle school to high school, it did it at least a couple times. You can see the technology differences and stuff like that. And then, I mean, it's pretty nice and stuff, but imagine if somebody used that and, like say if a businessman had the mindset to advance technology, but he used it in his business to advance his business. Imagine how rich he would be.
Yeah. And they do.
Yeah, Bill Gates, for example, he's the richest man in the world, I believe, still. He owns Microsoft. You know what Microsoft is, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Oracle.
Microsoft is Xbox.
Yeah.
Microsoft is Windows. And everybody uses both of them.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing that did kind of...
But back to the video game thing, you were talking about Atari, right?
Yeah.
I remember my grandma, she was in hospice. You know what hospice is, right?
Yes.
Well, my mom made us go up there every day because she was about to die and stuff, and she made us go up there every day and kind of stay there. I mean, I would leave, my cousins would come pick me up and take me to the mall or something just to get me away from it because I was 7 or something.
Yeah.
Because they realized I was too young to just sit in a hospice room all day, every day. But these people, I think they were some church people or something, they brought me this Atari, but it was like a SpongeBob Atari thing. And they said, we realize you're young and you don't want to stay here. But when you do stay here with your grandma, we want you to have fun. So they gave me that Atari. It was a SpongeBob Atari.
That's amazing.
And I was playing this game called Bubble Pop. And that game kept me occupied. They would ask me if I wanted to go to the McDonald's or if I wanted to go to the mall or something. It's like, no, I want to keep playing SpongeBob. And I'd sit there, and the thing what sucked is I drank a lot of pop and stuff, but I was around nothing but old people. So I'd sit there and I played SpongeBob and I drank me a diet caffeine-free Pepsi.
Did you play bingo with the old folks?
No, the only time I ever played bingo was in class. I don't know if you guys did that when you were in school. You played bingo in class with math equations and stuff like that. And whoever got first place got extra. What was it? It's extra extra points towards the grade point average in that class.
Well, that's great. That's a good motivation.
Think about
I'm gonna
go back to what I was like in elementary school. A lot of the people are probably gonna listen to this podcast and are gonna be like, "Yep, that's Andy." But I just want to take it back a little bit, some of the memories I remember. One time, the fax machine rang in class. The teacher was out. I think she went to the restroom or something. And it's a no-no to answer the fax machine. I mean, it's a teacher's phone.
Right.
So it rings one day. It's the principal calling to her class to ask somebody to come to the office. I answer the phone, and I said, "Hey, what do you want?" And the principal is like, "Who is this?" And me being a dumbass, I gave him my name. This was at Grant Elementary School. I don't know if you know.
Gave him your rival's name.
I gave him my name. This was 4th grade or something. And he's like, "Yeah, you can go and come down to the office." And I remember one grade, I think it was 5th grade, we had this thing called Friday Club. Where every Friday, the last 2 hours of the day at elementary school, we would get to go outside and play. That's if we were good during the week. And I tell you that I didn't go to Friday Club. It's Friday Club. Friday School's a bad thing. Friday Club at all. The only time I went that year was before my birthday, and that's because the teacher felt sorry for me. She said, "Yeah, it's your birthday. She basically said, you've been a fucking asshole all week. But since it's your birthday, we're going to go to Friday Club. And your parents brought in some pretty good pizza, so we're going to go to Friday Club." I was like, alright. And I felt like I was in prison. Because, even in recess, I had detention every day.
Damn.
Because I was such a bad kid in elementary school. I didn't go outside at all. I didn't have a recess because during recess is where you served your detention.
Damn.
And I remember one time, and like when I did go outside, I felt like I just escaped prison or something.
What'd you do in detention?
Detention, you just sit and work on work and stuff like that. But you can't be loud or anything. But when I did go outside that one day for Friday Club, I felt like I just like escaped the institution or something. Because I was outside, I felt like I was... Because that whole time, I went into school, and I didn't leave the school until I was done.
For the day.
Because I was such a bad kid. And... yeah, that was just crazy. Cause
well, hey, you know what?
Back on it.
Let's talk about that. The teachers in your generation didn't understand how to motivate you either. So, and that's why you ended up sitting in that class. And then you didn't get outside because they didn't understand how to motivate you to want to do better.
You want to know what my problem was, though?
What?
I was a class clown.
It was fun, huh?
I was a class clown. I remember when I went outside that day, I realized I wasn't the only fucking class clown, but other people knew how to fucking hide it.
Yeah.
Like, they knew how to, like, tell jokes and shit and not get in trouble. Me, I was just fucking stupid. I just went all out.
Yeah.
But I went outside that day, and my cousin went to my elementary school. And this is how you know these motherfuckers start out young. I walk over to the jungle gym and stuff, and I look over, and my cousin and this other guy that was in our grade was sitting down next to a tree. This was 4th grade, or 5th grade. And they're sitting down next to a tree, and these motherfuckers got paper out of a book that they got from the library. They pulled grass out of the ground, rolled it up.
Oh, hell no.
And they were acting like they were smoking pot. This was in the 5th grade, these motherfuckers were doing that. I just walk over, they're sitting down Indian style next to the tree, just acting like they're smoking weed. You got teachers out there over on the blacktop just not giving a fuck. They're just like, you know what, fuck it. Last 2 hours of the day, I want to go home, probably fucking get drunk, fuck my husband. That's how it was going to go. And it's sad because, like, I'm not going to name any names on this part, but it's the weirdest thing ever. I used to work at the drive-thru where you served beer. You know what drive-thru is, right? They have in Middletown.
Yeah.
I work at the drive-thru, and right when the high school let out, and I even seen teachers from other school. Like I said, I'm not going to say any names because that'll probably get me in a bunch of shit. But I'd be sitting there on the register. I'd see like 5 or 6 teachers come through right after school. I want a case of Bud Light. I want a pack of White Owl White Grape.
Oh.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah, they're like, real people.
I had you as a teacher, and now you're going to go smoke pot and get drunk? What are you doing?
That's why.
And it was just the weirdest thing ever.
They needed to get drunk after a day of all that shit.
I feel sorry for them, too, because I don't really know when they take smoke breaks. Like, do you know how that works?
Well, I guess when they go to lunch.
Yeah, that's probably 1 smoke break a day. Could you imagine? Only doing 1 dip and asshole kids all day.
Now they probably can't do it at all.
Yeah, they probably have some type of test or something for nicotine.
Huh. I think as far as teachers go, I think they have a lot on their plates. They should probably get paid more. And
hey, I'm gonna go grab a beer real quick.
Okay, you got any pop? You got any soda?
I got a regular. What? Regular Pepsi and regular Mountain Dew.
Can I have a Pepsi?
Yeah. Just gotta keep talking about it.
Alright, so Andy's leaving. I'm going to talk about mushrooms like I want to talk about. Alright, so my first trip is I'm going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to go see my nephew, Billy. And we're looking at spring mushrooms. And I want to start out looking for morels. But there's also some different types of mushrooms that I'll be checking out too. I just purchased a book, and it's by Bill Russell, and it's a field guide to the wild mushrooms of Pennsylvania. So it really has a lot of information in it, and it's a revised edition. It's pretty nice. You can actually put it in a backpack, or if you have a bigger back pocket. But and it gives you different pictures, different examples, and different spore prints, which is very important to match up the spore prints, and then also where you find them for different identifications. And I'm not just looking for mushrooms to eat, but I like the different types of mushrooms. As far as I like to photograph, I like to learn about each species, and I'm looking forward to this trip to Pittsburgh to begin with, and then later on to Michigan for the spring time hunt. Hey, I guess it's break time. We'll talk about that a little bit more as far as the mushrooms go, but there was a few topics that I discussed with Andy, and we wanted to talk some more about music, and we talked about how music can take you to a different place. And also a little earlier we had a different conversation on the third eye, as far as it's kind of a dream experience, how you can use that third eye and tap into it and understand it a little bit better. So I just want to give a little bit of focus on that, because I think that it's something everybody should look into, and I don't mean that for a pun, but if everybody could just give it a little thought and maybe do a little bit of research on it, and let's all just start talking about it, and then maybe start reading each other's minds. That was a joke. So anyway, I got to talk a little bit about mushrooms while you were gone, Andy.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I apologize, you guys. What happened was I ran out of beer, and I don't have a mini fridge up in my room yet. That kind of sucks. I need to get one. Put it where the trash can is, behind the Ryan, in front of the Ryan Guys sign. So I have to go downstairs and get beer every 2-3 hours. But I told Tish she could talk about whatever she wants to talk about while I was gone. And I'm going to go back to the school subject. I got one more story I got to share with you. So as I told you, I was in detention every day. My dumbass walks into the detention room, and knowing I have more detentions, I walk up to because how detention worked is they had this teacher that was assigned to stay in there and kind of watch over the kids, make sure they didn't act up.
Like Andy?
Yeah, so I walked in the detention. I was scheduled for detention that day, and I looked at her in the eyes, and I was like, "Do I have any more detentions, ma'am?" And this motherfucker, this bitch, fucking reaches in her drawer, pulls out a stack, and she, like, counts it like money, and she's like, "Well, Mr. Garrett, I seem to have a collection here."
All right. Back to mushrooms. Just kidding. So, the other thing I had on my little notepad is a couple of different stories I had from younger days. And I know everybody has a first drinking experience, except for maybe our grandmas. Maybe never took a drink in their life. But
except for moonshine, probably.
I remember back to the first time I got drunk. And my parents had a party with the neighbors, And I think I had to be at least in the 6th grade. But, Andy, how old are you in the 6th grade?
I believe 11. I could be
11,
wrong.
12, something like that.
Well, so.
I believe I was about that age. I'm not proud of this, I guess. I'm not promoting this or anything, but it's kind of a wild story, and it took a lot of different turns. But my parents had this party with our neighbor friends. Take it easy over there, Andy. And they all had this big, of course they all had horses and cows and all that, so they had this little metal, actually it was a huge metal thing, like a watering trough full of iced beer, and there was nobody monitoring the beer. So us kids in the neighborhood, of course we were all different ages. Well, we all got a little buzzed that night. And it was those little slit smoked liquor in the barrel. And the caps you had to pop off. So we had to get a hold of a bottle opener each time. But, yeah, we got really buzzed. Really, really buzzed. And then later that night, and everybody's still partying up at the neighbors, and we went on home. This big, huge storm came through, and I was so buzzed. I'd go in the basement and wait this tornado warning out, and drunk. So that was my first drunk experience at that age. It was pretty freaking scary later on, but I didn't get sick or anything, which I thought I would, but I didn't.
Touching on that topic, I'm going to share with you guys my first drunk experience. So, how it all started, I'm trying to go back in time for you guys a little bit. I was walking down High Street one day, and there was no peer pressure involved or anything. Like, nobody's ever asked me to smoke weed or nothing like that. I was walking down High Street with a group of friends who both smoked weed. They weren't smoking weed at the time or anything. But I was walking past German Village towards High Street, towards the water area, the dam and stuff. And then something just clicked in my head. It's like Satan or somebody just like found me and fucking gave me a wake-up call, or God, or I don't know what happened, but something just clicked, and I was like, I want to smoke some weed. And then I just went in the crackhead mode. I got on my phone. I knew everybody. Like, I had friends who sold weed on my phone, and I didn't even smoke it. So I called them, and I said, hey, right now, come on, bring me, I think I had like $50. Bring me $50 worth of weed. And they're like, all right. Wait, do you smoke? I was like, I do now, motherfucker. Get over here. And then, I'm not going to mention the name, but he brought it, and he came over to the bridge, and I'm sitting on the corner of the bridge, and there's traffic everywhere. And he gets out of the car, parks next to the bridge, and the traffic is crazy, and he gets out, and he hands me the $50 worth of weed, and he's like, here you go. Are you going to match me? And I was like, yeah, I guess I can. So we went over, there's this little tiny wall that you could literally dunk down, and there was cars, traffic, just driving past on the other side. We stood there, or we sat there, and we smoked about a quarter of weed next to traffic.
I bet that blew.
And then that's what kind of, after that, I just started smoking weed, right?
Right.
I didn't smoke, or I didn't use nicotine or alcohol at the time. But one day, we didn't have any weed. We couldn't find any weed. We had no money. So I'm used to getting high. And then I was like, I had a friend that dipped. And I was like, hey, does that shit get you high? What the fuck is that? And then he's like, no. And I was like, well, let me give him, you should let me get some of that. I fucking put it in my mouth. And I was so, lightheaded. I was like, yeah, this could probably... Well, I smoke weed, so, this could keep me occupied when I don't smoke, I'm guessing. So, and then one night, my cousin Julio picked me up.
Julio, shout out to Julio.
Yeah, shout out to Julio. He picked up a bottle of vodka. Mind you, again, I smoked, I dipped, I didn't start drinking yet. So we went to our friend's house, had this bonfire. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. I don't have any weed. I don't have any dip. So here's something else that's going to alter my mind. So I got drunk. And it was straight vodka. There was no chaser, no nothing. First time ever drinking. And within about 2 or 3 sips, I was in the car. I was screaming. I was saying fuck you to everybody. I was jumping over fires. I think I fell in the fire. And I got out of control and I passed out. And then my cousin Julio picked me up, dropped me on my fucking head, carrying me into the house.
You had a concussion.
I was drunk as shit. And then I wake up on my phone and there's pictures of me with a lit cigarette in my mouth, a fucking dick on my forehead. Not like an actual...
Oh, somebody teabagged your ass.
Not like an actual dick, but it was like a drawn dick on my forehead. And I wake up and I got a fucking headache from hell and I'm just so confused. And I walk in and my cousin's sitting there. My cousin's sitting there in the chair. Look, he's sitting there in the chair asleep. Sitting in the chair asleep. He's drunk as fuck too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if somebody was fucking with him or what, but the window was open up behind him and the fridge was open up right next to him. He was sitting there like this with his arms in his shirt. He was just freezing to death, and I woke him up and I was like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you?
With the fridge open.
Yeah, the fridge was open, the fucking window was open, he's sitting in the fucking chair freezing to death. And then I walk up to him and I confronted him. I was like, hey, who the fuck did this shit to me? He was like, oh, I did it, my bad. I was like, I'm going to tell you something right now, I'm never drinking again. It turns out on this podcast I actually am drinking.
On this exact one. What are you drinking anyway?
It's Ryan Guy's Truth.
Give him a shout out.
This is made from Cincinnati, Ohio. It's $13 a 6-pack.
Woo! How much alcohol volume is in there?
7.2.
Whoa! But for a 6-pack, glad I don't drink anymore. I mean, that's for real. I've saved so much money. Money alone is a great thing about it. But I love hearing different stories and people tasting different kinds of beers. But that's kind of neat that we have something in Cincinnati that, hey.
Just wait until a dispensary comes to Cincinnati.
Right.
Imagine what that's going to be like. Being able to walk in, thousands of different pot plants or different types of pot. You literally open the jar and say, here, take a puff.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually do stuff like that, too. Like, you know, at Jungle Gyms, if you've ever been to Jungle Gyms.
Oh, yeah.
They have beer tastings where you can actually sample beers.
Yeah.
And that's just weird because, like, marijuana is so much more potent than alcohol is if you think about it. Because, like, alcohol, you can sit there and just sip on different beers. Like, because the samples they give you is, like, it's a medicine cap, kind of. You just taste it on your tongue. With weed samples, you take one hit.
You ingest that.
Yeah, you inhale it and everything.
Last.
And then if you go down to, like, 5 or 4 different strands, you're probably not going to be able to exit the building because you're not going to know where you're at.
Sounds good to me.
Alcohol, you're just going to be like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'm going to go to the fucking drive-thru and get me a fucking 6-pack.
You can't even swallow all that beer.
Yeah.
But you can inhale. I didn't inhale. All right. I'm going to give a shout out to Wifey. Hi, Carrie.
We're actually at the end of the podcast now.
Are we?
We're at 59 minutes.
Love you, Logan.
I love you.
Hey.
Alright, guys on YouTube, thank you for watching. This is going to be the end of the podcast. Make sure to have it uploaded soon.